Okay, so again, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon. My name is Maria Gonzalez. Well, first off, this is just to make sure you're in the correct place. This is the RFP information session for stopping the school to prison pipeline. And my name is Maria Gonzalez, and I am the current Stopping the School to Prison Pipeline program manager. Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself?
And I'm Lisa Ingraham, and I'm the interim lead of Stopping the School to Prison Pipeline.
And then Sky and Leslie, do you want to just do a quick intro also?
Sure. I can go ahead. Hi, my name is Sky Hazley. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also with King County. I am a contract specialist on the contracts and procurements team, and I am supporting Maria and Lisa in this procurement along with Leslie, who I will let introduce herself.
Hi there, Leslie Miller, another contract specialist, and will be, as Sky said, another person supporting. I'm the one you're emailing because I'm the single contact during as long as this is open. So between when this opened up and until the awards are made, I'm the person to get hold of if you have questions.
Thank you, Leslie and Sky. So again, the logistics, we will be adding questions to the chat. So please add your questions to the chat box and or unmute yourself to ask questions. Again, just like Leslie had mentioned, she is the contact person. If you have any questions regarding Zoom grants or the RFP, so the SSPP team is not involved in any of this, just to not create any bias. So that is one of the purposes, to have a different person as the lead for the RFP. And the frequently asked questions that are sent to Leslie, they will be posted in the Zoom grants online application library, and that will be at least once a week. So the agenda for today, we're going to review what is Best Start for Kids. Some of you I can see we currently work with, or you have received funding from Best Start for Kids, but we're just going to do a general overview of what is Best Start for Kids. Key elements of the RFP, the request for proposal, the evaluation and reporting overview, the Zoom grants overview, if you're not familiar with that, the criteria overview, and then again, any questions that you may have. Are there any questions so far? Okay. So the vision for Best Start for Kids is for, we want to see babies born healthy, kids thriving, and young people growing to be happy, healthy, and successful adults. So that's the vision for Best Start for Kids. The mission for Best Start for Kids is to strengthen families and communities so that babies are born healthy, children thrive, and establish a strong foundation for life, and young people to grow into happy and healthy adults. And so we want for this process to be as equitable as possible. And so this is a statement. Equity is an ardent journey toward well-being as defined by the affected. And the principles, we want to promote programs. We want them for them to have prevention strategies and early interventions, and then also ultimately create policy and systems change to benefit the communities that we serve. So the funding basics for 2.0, currently, that is the funding strategy right now, is what we consider 2.0. You guys will be applying for 3.0. So a little backstory. It is a 6-year property tax levy. So all of the funding comes from tax levies. And so it's just 19 cents per every $1,000 in assets valued. And then these are some of the investments that Best Start for Kids currently has. So we fall into the sustaining the gain 5 to 24. And so that consists of 37% of the levy. And then a large part is just childcare, capital construction programs, homelessness intervention. And so these are just some of the investments that Best Start for Kids has. So again, we fall under the Best Start for Kids Sustain the Gain 5 to 24. And what these strategies focus on is on expanded learning, creating healthy and safe environments, liberation and healing from systematic racism, positive family connections, school-based health centers, stopping the school to prison pipeline, transitions to adulthood and youth development. And other strategies are lead and toxics, child and adolescent immunizations.
So where are we going from here?
We don't know them.
Did someone have a question? Okay. Lisa, do you want to give a backstory of SSP?
Yeah. So the Stopping the School to Prison pipeline strategy area, it specifically seeks to intentionally and effectively partner with communities to help create the school to life success pathway for ages 12 to 24-year-old young people and their families that are most likely to be pushed into the criminal legal system, and also youth and that are already involved in the criminal legal system. The way we go about this is we invest in community-based organizations and we build relationships with the organizations and we ask them, you know, how do you serve your youth and how do you want to serve your youth? It's your community and we want to know how you think that these youth should be served. The goal of these investments is to create an environment that helps all our young people, especially Black and Indigenous youth, embrace their worth and live up to their potential and pursue their aspirations with the full support of their communities.
So who is this RFP for? So we do really encourage for small and community-based organizations to submit proposals. But it is open to nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, tribe and tribal organizations, and public or governmental agencies serving communities in King County. So the service area does need to be within King County. So again, the population focus for this RFP is for youth and young people ages 12 to 24. And the focus communities include, but are not limited to Hispanic, Latino communities, Black and African American, African immigrant communities, Asian communities, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, American Indian, Alaska Native, and rural King County providers. So the funding available for this cohort for 3.0 is $9.7 million. The applications are due January 30th. The contract period is for 30 months, and it will start July 1st through December 31st, 2027. July 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027. So the maximum that the organizations are able to ask for is $940,000 for the 30 months of the contract period. And the anticipated number of awards is between 8 to 12 organizations. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Hi, could you clarify what you meant by the small nonprofits? Is there a budget threshold that you're looking at?
Lisa,
No, not necessarily. There's no threshold or budget. I guess historically we've funded small organizations. We are not against funding large organizations. We've just felt it just seems that the ones that often get selected are the small grassroots organizations, but we will fund large ones as well.
Great, thank you.
A question
there-
here. Oh, I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
Hi, question here. I see that you say 8 to 12 grants. So I'm just doing some quick math here. 9.7 million. Is that to say that the least or smallest amount that you would entertain is around that 800,000 mark?
No, that's we don't select, as you know, we have about 30 to 40 raters from the community as well as young people. And so we do rate the budget, and so but we're not looking for, you know, max served for smallest amount asked for. We look for ratios that seem doable. People don't get extra points if they say that they're going to serve 500 youth. You know, we definitely want it to be realistic. So we've historically, people will usually, a lot of people ask for the max amount, and that's totally fine. So if we did award, you know, what is the math on that? But if we awarded 8, that would probably be the whole amount. But if people don't ask for the full amount, or if we don't fully fund the ask, then we can award more grants, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
And there's a question in the chat. Can 2 or more organizations collaborate and send one application?
Yes, we have had people, a lot of organizations do that before, and we have awarded some that had multiple organizations that work together. We don't give extra points or anything like that for, you know, more people coming together. We just do suggest that if you do partner with somebody, remember that partner, if you do get awarded, that partnership is expected to continue throughout the whole contract period. That's very important to remember.
Okay, and then do we know about what the average ratio of funding to people served in the past grant cycles is?
The ratio of people served, or the ratio of how many apps? Sorry, I don't see the actual question.
It says, do you happen to know about what the average ratio of funding to people served? So ratio of dollars to people served.
Got it. Okay. We don't have that data right now. But we definitely, it just depends on the services that people propose. So if people are doing really intense wraparound, we would expect a smaller number, most likely. But if people are doing maybe summer programs, or, you know, smaller, less intensive services, then the number is probably larger. But again, we don't give extra points, you know, for people that are trying to serve, you know, 500 youth or whatnot, because it's just not realistic.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So data and evaluation, and I believe this link is in the Zoom grants if you want to access more detailed data. I don't think Deanna is on the call if she wanted to talk more into detail about the data and evaluation portion.
I don't believe she is attending. I I can do it if you want.
Okay, thank you.
So definitely, the idea is to identify your story. We are using taxpayer dollars, so we need to make sure on our end that people are providing relevant services, as well as using the dollars wisely. So we do need to tell a story to our council and to our taxpayers. This is where your money is going. So telling the story, we work with organizations really closely when they are funded and create an evaluation plan that actually allows you to tell your story in a way that you want to, and that's culturally relevant. There are some things that we absolutely have to have, just demographics that we do need to have that's required by the county. But other than that, we really try to work and make individual plans for the evaluation process. And it's partnership, collaboration, and accessibility.
Sorry, I was trying to
I can read
copy
it.
the link. It's a little slow, but I'll put it in the chat right now. Can you? I lost the PowerPoint on my screen. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then let me throw this link in the chat. It's not letting me do it. Okay, I'll throw the link in there before the session ends.
Let's see. So these are the resources that you can click on.
And then are the slides going to be, can they be put onto Zoom grants also? Or are they
Yes.
typically put on
Yep.
there?
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, this is my first RFP, and so I'm still learning.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Okay, so again, some of the expectations for the organizations that will be funded. So you will participate in performance measurement and reporting activities. So it includes quantitative and qualitative data to share programs' impact. And this is combined and is put into like a larger King County annual report too. So you're required to report on race, ethnicity, age, gender, disabilities, zip codes for participants receiving services. And so an evaluation plan is not required as part of your proposal. And Best Starts for Kids. So once you are funded, then you will create the performance measures and the data collection plans. So again, the evaluation plan is not required as part of your proposal. Best Start for Kids, we do have tools available to help measure program results, including a youth development tool. So this is for organizations that are awarded. Reporting is done quarterly. So again, demographic data, such as the number of young people that are enrolled in your services, the percent of participants that are regularly engaging in your programming, percent of participants re-engaging in school, and percent of who report having post-high school career plans. And then again, the narrative report is an annual report, and it's a summary of the program changes, successes, and challenges. And so this again is all put together and it's presented county-wide, cohort-wide as well. Okay, I don't know if Leslie or Sky were gonna do this section.
Most definitely.
Okay, perfect. Do Did you want to share your screen and do
Yeah.
the? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to go into Zoom Grants, and I just need you to stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay. So Zoom Grants is the place that you want to be going, not just one time, but throughout the time that this RFP is open. So this is the place where you will be submitting your application, but it's also where you can get the most updated information. So after this session and the questions are added to an amendment, we'll go ahead and amend. The first amendment was when we had to do an emergency rescheduling of the information session. So anytime there is a change from what is said in the RFP outline. So this document here that says BSK SSP RFP outline updated, this is where you're going to get all the information that you need. And if you had a question, clarifying question, you can reach out to me in the email. And so I want to really highlight this library tab, and what you'll see is up here, you've got different views. So there is some, kind of overarching information that's in here, but all of this information is with more detail is in the RFP outline itself. But the library is the most important place to go and to check to see if there have been any updates or not. And so just want to make sure that you notice that there are multiple tabs. So you'll be, giving some real basic information about the applicant. I'm in an applicant view, so you can see that my name is on there, but so information about the organization. And then this is a really important question. They'll talk about the fact that we have a large review panel who will score applications, but there's also consideration for serving the county in an equitable way. And so one of the ways to get that information is to understand who you are serving within in the county. And then at the bottom of each page, you're able to click on to the next section. And so here are some demographic information to understand who you are serving. And then the next one is, again, this first one is just a little overview. So there's a quick way to understand what program you're doing. So even though this is not scored, but this is just really important. It's a important way for reviewers to understand in a brief amount of time who you're wanting to serve and exactly how you're wanting to do so. Please note that each of these narrative questions do have character limits. So these are not word limits, but character limits. We recommend that you type out, write out your questions in a Word document. We do share the narrative questions in a Word document so you can use that and work collaboratively with your team to respond to questions, and then cut and paste within Zoom Grants. So just in case something goes awry and you lose your information, you don't lose your work. You can just copy and paste again. So when you make it, like if I was to start writing, if I'm not going to, maybe I can't do that right from where I'm at. You click out, and that's how it automatically saves. So there's not a save button. but when you add your information and then click out of that box, then the saving happens. And just to let you know, for those of you who are used to using like the word function in Word, it will tell you how many words you've used. It will also calculate characters as well. And so that can be helpful, because if you have more than the limit, when you copy and paste, it will not copy and paste the entire text that you have written. And there is a budget that upload that is required. And so we provide the tool that you will use. So the Excel workbook is provided to you, and then you'll need to fill that out according to the directions and then upload it. So that is an overall. I am going to make the plug that I always make. And if there's any way that you cannot wait until the last minute to enter your responses, we highly encourage to give yourself some extra time. We don't want you to not be able to submit your application on time. And so if everyone's in there at the last minute, it will go a little slower, and there can be some technical difficulties. So if at all possible, please don't wait until the 30th to respond. And then I want to also please note in the outline that the application is due on the 30th at 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. on the 30th is when the application will be closed. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few questions.
Okay, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, so when you select the zip codes, are the zip codes where participants live or where program activities are taking place?
I think it's both. So yeah, you want to show that if someone is coming from another zip code to get services, you're still serving that zip code. And you can also share where you physically provide services as well. But if you guys have a different, that has been typically what's been done, do you all have a different answer, Lisa, Maria, or does that make sense for you all of how to use the zip codes?
It makes sense
Okay.
to me.
Okay, and then can you go back and edit after you click outside of the box?
Yes. You can keep making changes until we close the application, as a matter of fact. So yes, so you're not done until you hit submit and the application is closed.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yeah.
So some application and budget tips. Make sure that you use the provided template that is in Zoom Grants, and budget should be developed for the total amount requested up to $940,000. Budgets need to be spent by December 31st, 2027. And then read the instructions tab and then fill out the budget details tab. The budget summary will auto-populate from the budget details tab. And if once you get to this point, if you have any questions, please contact Leslie. Technical assistance is available to everybody that wants to apply for the RFP. And this is to support applicants and eliminate barriers that might prevent you from seeking funding. So we know that sometimes there are certain organizations that are smaller and maybe do not have the money to have like a grant writer and things like that. So this is kind of where the technical assistance comes in to help support you in that aspect. The deadline to request technical assistance is January 25th, 2024. And the technical assistance providers, again, they can assist in determining the appropriate fit between you and your program, and if this is the right RFP for your organization. Provide guidance on how to best answer the questions and where to find the supportive data. And then support in your application review and editing and the budget review. So TA, technical assistance, is not grant writing. So this is just to support your application. And there are, I think,
Yeah,
a
a
few.
couple questions here. So can the program be funded by 2 different BSK grants? If so, what is the best way to delineate between the two? We have definitely had organizations get funded by 2 different strategies. So ours is the Stop Beat the School to Prison pipeline, and there's a whole list of other strategies. So the way we would delineate it is, each strategy is asking for specific things and services. And so you would, apply to that specific strategy with whatever program that you feel like matches the strategy and the ask of the RFP. Usually we've found that when organizations already have a program, it's more natural to kind of flow into maybe what we're asking for, rather than coming up with a brand new program that they think that may fit into this category. I hope that answers your question. Next question, am I correct that this grant is for Washington-based organizations, not merely orgs from other states? Oh, no. So the youth that are served have to be in King County, and the organizations, I believe, need to be in King County as well. I could be wrong about the second part, but I know that all the youth, they need to be in King County. And so we're not going to fund, organizations from California or anything that say they're going to help kids in King County. Is there flexibility with the age range in this funding that it's looking to serve, or is it strict? So if your organization serves ages 5 to 24, that's fine. For this program, for the program that we're funding, we're looking for agencies that serve 12 to 24, but that doesn't mean you have to serve 12 to 24. So maybe it's 16 to 24 or 18 to 24 or 18 to 21. But as long as it's within the perimeters of the 12 to 24 age group, that's what we are looking for in this strategy. And there are other strategies that focus on 0 to 5 years old, and then others that are 5 to 24 like this one, but serves different age groups. Small nonprofits. This grant could represent significant growth, but funds will be needed to fund the growth. How is payment structured for those who win? Is any funding available in advance? So many times when small nonprofits are either small and existing, or are new and they don't have a brick and mortar, or very small, very new, maybe has been providing services for a really long time for nothing. So it can be a blessing and a curse to receive a large amount of money, especially almost $1 million. So we are there to help with the structure of the payments, and we offer TA throughout the grant for capacity building and outside organizations that we fund that are community-based organizations that can help each organization work with the funds they have and how they can work without our funds when our funds dry up someday. So the other part of the question was, so your answer, yes. So the answer to that question is yes. We've had organizations that are small, like I was speaking of, need money up front to get a space or to buy telephones or cell phones or whatnot. So we can do an advance payment. And then usually whatever's left, if there is an advance payment, of that, let's say 940,000, let's say you did 40,000 in advance, and then you have the 900 left, then we would divide that by the amount of months left, and you would get the same amount every month. We do, however, ask for general ledgers every quarter. We want to see that you're actually spending the money and what you're spending the money on. Can a fiscally sponsored community organization apply? Yes, we've had that many times. I think that's it.
Okay. So keep typing in your questions as they come up. So organizations that wish to access technical assistance, please email the technical assistant providers directly. So we encourage you to reach out to them as soon as possible. And they do have assistance in other languages if that is something that you need. So just make sure that you request the language. And then we encourage you to only contact one technical assistant consultant at a time and allow them 24 hours to respond before you contact other technical assistant providers.
Another question was, can you walk us through the selection process, please? Good question. I'll try not to leave anything out. So basically on the 30th, it closes down the RFP. From there, we have been doing outreach to community members that are not applying for this RFP, as well as county employees, people that have, familiarity with the group of young people that we want to serve. People that have done the work, people that know what these young people are going through, and have either provided the service or have there's all kinds of life experience out there and education. So we have a group of all different kinds of folks, as well as county employees. It's not anybody on our team. So last time we got 65 applications, and we only funded, I think, 10 or 11. I don't know what the number is going to be this time, but it's very competitive, just so everybody knows. We basically randomly assign people in groups of 3, and everybody reads about 10 or 12 of the applications. There should be the scoring process, the rubric in the RFP itself, so you can see what we're looking at. We do trainings before we have these group of people rating the applications. We tell them what we're looking for. We do bias training, not by us, but we hire somebody to do bias training so they can kind of learn their own biases and try to refrain from expressing those. It's then narrowed, everybody scores the applications, and then the ones that rise to the top naturally, I think maybe, let's say the top 20, we then take to a large group of youth that we have recruited, and that we've asked providers in the community that, youth that are receiving services right now, maybe not from Stopping the School to Prison pipeline, but out in the community, and have them look at the applications and the services. They don't necessarily rate them the way the adults do, but they do select which programs they think would be most beneficial. And let me clarify, there are no youth that would be judging that are currently receiving services from SSPP, because that would be kind of weird. So the youth, we really try to lead with the youth voice, and we want to know what they think is relevant in their lives and their community. And they're the best ones to ask, I think. And so then from there, we have some meetings and figure out, who's getting what funding, what zip codes. There needs to be, we want to serve the entire county. So we're not going to fund, 10 organizations in Seattle, because we want it to be equitable. And then we do some interviews for the top selection, in-person interviews or virtual now. And we see that there is in fact an organization, and you know, what kind of services that are going to be provided in the experience of the organization.
Hey, thanks, Lisa. It's Shock. I was the one that wrote that question.
Shock.
Hey guys. Hey, real quick. So thank you for that. I just wanted to also clarify, like, the interview, is it for everyone, or is it as anyone selected?
So it would be a way to maybe we narrowed it down to 25 of the top scores, and then we have the youth look at it and kind of say what services that they would prefer and what they think is most relevant in their community. And so those get bumped up to the top. And then maybe we have 10 or 15 or 18 left. And so then we're going to look at, you know, where everybody is in the county. We're not going to serve all one area. And then, so we take the scores along with the youth choice, raise them up to the top, and then the number that we have left that we can possibly fund, we do in-person interviews for those individuals to make sure that they are indeed, you know, a real organization. And and it's good to just talk to somebody face to face and see how, you know, what their thoughts are.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, there's another question. Do you intend to consider previous award winners from these funds in the past?
Yeah, very much so. There are, I mean, there's so many great organizations out there, and I have fallen in love with some programs that I would love to fund every time. But again, I'm not making the choices. I don't get to decide. It's heartbreaking when agencies don't get refunded when they've been doing great work. But we do want to, you know, make sure that the selection of the community members that we entrust this to are, you know, are heard, and that the agencies that get selected, and we are going to vet them, of course, but we definitely we definitely have refunded agencies, to answer your question, and we can do it again. But again, they don't get extra points. If you've, you know, if you're currently funded or have been funded before, we don't take that in consideration. And the people that are scoring wouldn't know unless they are in the community and they just happen to know that maybe this one organization is already funded. We don't tell them, and so they wouldn't have any idea. So it's pretty much an even playing field.
Thank you, Lisa. So application reminders. The applications, they must be received via Zoom grants no later than 2 p.m. on January 30th. Right. So please regularly check Zoom grants for any updates, clarifications, or amendments to the RFP. And Leslie showed where you can find that information. If you've experienced technical issues with Zoom grants, submit a ticket to Zoom grants or contact Leslie, who is the RFP lead, for assistance. And make sure that you allow sufficient time to make sure that you submit to ensure timely receipt of the application or to resolve any technical difficulties with Zoom grants. So please don't submit it last minute, because if there's a lot of people, it can crash. Okay, there is a question on here. The RFP states that county departments are not eligible. Can we still partner with a county department if it will not be receiving grant funds?
Yes, I believe if, you know, if we're not paying the Department of Natural Resources, let's say, which we wouldn't be doing that, then if an agency wants to partner with them and, let's say, do, you know, park adventures or whatnot, internships, we're fine with that. You can partner with pretty much whoever you want to, but as long as we're not, that the money that we're funding for the grant is not paying that part of the county, because that would just be weird.
Okay, so make sure that you carefully review the rating criteria. The review panel will closely follow the scoring rubric. And like Lisa mentioned, we go over all of that with the review panelist. All applications submitted will go through a formal review process, which Lisa explained. And if for any reason you would like to submit an appeal, the appeal process is outlined in the RFP. And this is just a snapshot of the timeline. So the RFP was released November 19th. This is one of the info sessions. There is a second one, January 9th, 12 to 1. And that information, along with the link, is in the Zoom grants. The final day to submit questions via Zoom grants is January 25th. The final day to request technical assistance is January 25th. Again, the proposals are due January 30th by 2 p.m. We will review the responses February through March. And we will interview with applicants if requested by the review panel the end of March through the beginning of April. Notification of selected and non-selected participants will happen the end of April. And then we will be in contact with the selected organizations and begin the negotiations with the selected applicants May 1st, and the start date for the contracts is July 1st. There's another question. We would use funds in part for rent for a new office we don't currently have. Is it necessary to know the exact space and cost, or could we list rent/office and a budget based on reasonable estimates? You all have been fantastic, by the way. Thank you. No, thank you.
Well, thank you. So basically, you don't have to have an actual space. We would prefer an address. We've had people use PO boxes, so that's not a big deal. But we definitely will, if you reach the end, we're going to interview people, so we know that they're actual real people. But the budget, use your best estimate. If you don't have a space and you're looking, kind of go out there and see what's out there and just kind of give a reasonable estimate. What you submit to us is for a budget is not set in stone. So if, let's say you get the grant and then it's like, oh, wow, rent is way higher than we thought, we can adjust it. We're not going to hold you to exactly what you say in the budget because, maybe like you said, you don't have the space yet and there's other factors in there. So reasonable estimates are fine. And I feel like there was more I was going to say about that, but yeah, reasonable estimates for sure.
Thank you. So again, this information session will be posted into Zoom grants along with the slides. Please email Leslie if you have any questions and contact the technical assistant providers directly for support. Make sure that you see the glossary of terms for relevant definitions. And if you have any questions about those definitions, please contact Leslie and use the checklist to make sure that your application is complete. And that is all. Are there any additional questions?
I remembered what I was going to say. The other part of that was also if you apply for the full amount, or let's say whatever amount, and if for some reason it works out that we don't fund the contract the whole way, we would ask, we want to fund you, but maybe not at this cost. So just because you ask for the full amount, it doesn't mean, or whatever number that you choose, we are not held to that number. We would ask, and you're welcome to decline. But we can offer you less. We cannot, however, offer you more. So if you don't ask for the full amount and you ask for much less and you do get funded, we cannot then say, well, we think you should get more. So ask for what you think that you need. And if that's the whole amount, then that's the whole amount. But you don't get more points, for asking for less. A question about food or ineligible expenses. I can't really think of anything. I know I've worked with federal grants and most of them say absolutely no food, which if you work with teenagers, you know you're not going to get them in the building unless there's some sort of food. And a lot of our kids are hungry. So please feed them. So food is fine. Equipment, we've had people buy laptops. We've had people, you know, if there's anything in question, you can always ask us. There's nothing that's like totally out of the, you know, as long as it's legal. We probably wouldn't pay for alcohol if you had a, you know, some kind of event where you're maybe hosting. You know, alcohol would probably be one of the major things that would not be allowable, but most things within reason are, you know, are totally allowable.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes. So unless there aren't any more questions, and again, if you do have questions that you think of after this information session, please put them in the Zoom grants. Is it appropriate to request funds for data management software for tracking this impact?
Yes, you can ask for funds for definitely for software. And then we actually have extra buckets of money once you are funded that come up here and there. And so there might be some money in the pot for exactly what you're talking about, or finance software. And a lot of times, so you are able to buy it with the funding, but a lot of times there are buckets of money that are separate from that we can award you to buy specific things.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending the information session. So again, this recording will be available in Zoom grants. And if you have any questions, please put them in Zoom grants. Again, the answers to the questions as they come in, they will be posted on Zoom grants at least once a week.